Puss in Boots, Part 1. Once upon a time, there was an old man. He was a miller and he had 3 sons. One day, he called his sons. "I am old now," he said to them. "Listen to me, your father." Old, old. Miller, miller. Father, father. Sons, sons. What was the old man's job? How many sons had the miller? Puss in Boots, Part 2. He then said to his first son, "I give you the mill." To his second son he said, "I give you my donkey." And he said sadly to his third son, "My son, I can only give you this cat." But this cat was a very special cat. The mill, the mill. Donkey, donkey. Sadly, sadly. Cat, cat. Special, special. First, first. Second, second. Third, third. What did the father give his first son? What did the father give his second son? What did the father give his third son? Puss in Boots, Part 3. "Hello, young master," said the cat. "I can talk, and I can help you." The young man was very surprised. "Quick," said the cat, "get me a large sack and a pair of boots. Oh, and a big hat. I really like big hats." Master, master. Young, young. Help, help. Quick, quick. Surprised, surprised. Large, large. Sack, sack. Boots, boots. Big, big. Hat, hat. What did the cat want? Puss in Boots, Part 4. Puss in Boots put some nice green leaves into the sack. "Bye-bye," he said to his young master. Soon he came to a wood. He opened the sack, and he waited very quietly. After a few minutes, a big, fat rabbit came. It began to eat the nice green leaves. Green, green. leaves, leaves. Wood, wood. Fat, fat. Rabbit, rabbit. Quietly, quietly. Where did Puss in Boots go? Puss in Boots, Part 5. Puss in Boots jumped up and closed the sack very quickly. The rabbit was inside. Then Puss in Boots went to the royal palace. "I have a present for the king," he said to the guards. "It is from my master, the Marquis of Carabas." Inside, inside. Present, present. Royal palace, royal palace. The king, the king. Guards, guards. What was inside the sack? What did Puss in Boots say to the guards? Puss in Boots, Part 6. "Your Majesty," said Puss in Boots, "I have a present for you. It is from my master, the Marquis of Carabas." Puss opened the sack. A big fat rabbit jumped out. The king was very pleased. He liked to have a rabbit for his dinner. "Go to your master," said the king, "and say thank you." Majesty, Majesty. Pleased, pleased. Dinner, dinner. Jumped, jumped. Did the king like his present? What did the king say to Puss? Puss in Boots, Part 7. The next day, Puss in Boots caught 2 big, fat birds. He took them to the king. "A present from the Marquis of Carabas," he said. Every day he caught birds or rabbits and took them to the king. Birds, birds. Every day, every day. Caught, caught. Took, took. What did Puss caught the next day? Puss in Boots, Part 8. "Oh, thank you, said the king. "Your master, the Marquis, is very kind. Here, take these gold coins. They are for you." One day, Puss and his young master were beside a river. Suddenly, they saw the king's coach. "Quick," said Puss in Boots. "Take off your clothes and jump into the river." Kind, kind. River, river. gold coins, gold coins. Coach, coach. Take off, take off. Clothes, clothes. What did the king give Puss in Boots? What did Puss and his young master see? What did Puss tell his master to do? Puss in Boots, Part 9. But I can't swim, the young man said. Puss in Boots looked at him. The young man understood. He took off his clothes and went into the water. Quickly, Puss took the clothes and hid them under a rock. Help! Help! He cried. The king's coach stopped. 2 guards ran to the side of the river. They pulled the young man out. Swim, swim. Looked, looked. Understood, understood. Hid, hid. Under, under. Rock, rock. Stopped, stopped. Side, side. Pulled, pulled. Where did Puss hide the clothes? Who pulled the young man? Puss in Boots, Part 10. Oh, thank you, Your Majesty, said Puss. My poor master, 3 men attacked him. They took all his money and clothes and threw him into the river. Guards, said the king, go quickly to the palace. Bring new clothes for the Marquis of Carabas. The guards went to the palace. Soon they came back with new clothes. The young man put them on. Suddenly, he was the Marquis of Carabas. Attacked, attacked. Money, money. Threw, threw. Bring, bring. What did Puss in Boots tell the king? What did the guards bring from the palace? Puss in Boots, Part 11. This is my daughter, said the king. Come with us. We will take you home. The young man sat in the coach. He looked at the princess, and he smiled. You're beautiful, he thought. The princess looked at him, and she smiled. What a handsome young man, she thought. Puss in Boots was very pleased. Daughter, daughter. Home, home. Princess, princess. Smiled, smiled. Handsome, handsome. Beautiful, Beautiful. What did the young man thought about the princess? What did the princess thought about the young man? Puss in Boots, Part 12. Puss had another idea. He saw two men in a field. "Listen," he said, "the king is coming today. He likes to talk to his people. Please say to him, 'All these fields belong to the Marquis of Carabas. I will give you a gold coin.'" "A gold coin?" said the men. "Yes, we will say that." Another idea. Field. Listen. People. Belong. What did Puss say to the two men? What did Puss say he will give the two men? Puss in Boots, Part 13. Puss went to another field, and then to another. He always said the same thing. Soon the king came to the first field. He stopped to talk to the men. "These fields belong to the Marquis of Carabas," they said. At the next field, the men said the same thing, and the next and the next. "The Marquis of Carabas is very, very rich," thought the king. Always. Next. Rich. Puss always said the same thing. The man said, "The fields doesn't belong to the Marquis of Carabas. The Marquis of Carabas is very, very rich," thought the king. Puss in Boots, Part 14. Puss in Boots came to a big castle. The castle belonged to a terrible orc. The door opened. There was the huge orc. Castle. Terrible. Org. Huge. Where did Puss in Boots go? Who owned the castle? Puss in Boots, Part 15. "Who are you? What do you want?" the orc roared. "My name is Puss in Boots," said Puss. "You are very famous. People say the orc can turn himself into a lion or a tiger or an elephant." "Of course I can," roared the terrible orc. "I can do anything." Roared. Famous. Turn himself. Tiger. lion, lion, elephant, elephant. What can the orc turn himself into? Puss in Boots, Part 16. But can you turn yourself into a really small animal? A mouse, perhaps? Of course I can, the orc roared. And suddenly the huge orc was a small mouse. Now Puss was the terrible animal. Rah! Puss jumped, and in a second he caught the little mouse and ate it. Animal, animal, mouse, mouse. Perhaps, perhaps. Second, second. Of course, of course. What did the orc turn himself into? What did Puss in Boots do? Puss in Boots, Part 17. Then Puss heard the king's coach. He ran to open the big doors of the castle. "Welcome, your majesty," he said. "Welcome to the castle of the Marquis of Carabas." What a huge castle, the king thought. Puss in Boots ran to the kitchen. The king was hungry. Quickly, Puss made a meal. Soon, the meal was on the table. Welcome, welcome. Kitchen, kitchen. Hungry, hungry. Meal, meal. Table, table. What did Puss do after he heard the king's coach? What did Puss in Boots make? Puss in Boots, Part 18. "This is very good," the king said to the young man. "Thank you, your majesty," he replied. He looked at the princess. She looked at him. The princess and the young man were already in love. Good, good. Replied, replied. Already, already. In love, in love. The king liked the food. The princess and the young man were not in love. Puss in Boots, Part 19. One day, the Marquis of Carabas went to the king. "Your Majesty," he said, "I love your daughter, and your daughter loves me. May I marry her?" Of course," said the king. And so they married, and lived happily ever after. And Puss lived with them, and was very happy cat indeed. Mary, Mary, lived, lived. Indeed, indeed. What did the Marquis of Carabas say to the king? What happened in the end?